Perfect. Just once again, would like to welcome everyone and thank you for taking part of your morning to join us today and hear more about RMED's new market intelligence tool. I'm Darlene Gulak, and I am one of the economic development advisors with RMED. I would like to acknowledge that RMED's office in Brandon is located on Treaty 2 lands, the traditional homelands of the Dakota, Anishinaabe, Oji-Cree, Cree, Dene, and Métis people. However, our team works extensively throughout Manitoba in the lands of Treaty 1 through 4 and the southern portion of Treaty 5. RMED respects the treaties that were made on these lands where we will work together. We commit to reconciliation along the path to economic prosperity. I'm pleased to be joined today by members of the RMED team, including Margot Cathcart, our President and CEO, Aaron Gonzalez, our Executive Assistant, Michael Asante, our Research and Policy Advisor, as well as Economic Development Advisors Deanne Fridfinson and Liza Park. The timeline for today's session is about 1 hour. And if you have questions as we move through the information, you're just encouraged to raise them in the chat, and we will certainly get to them as we move through the information this morning. I would just like to note that one of the core functions of RMED is to market the competitive advantages of rural Manitoba, to align projects and to market opportunities. And we're very excited today to showcase one of those tools, which helps us to achieve this. We know that community stakeholders and government are crucial to developing capacity for rural economic development opportunities through this collaboration. And we look forward to communicating the unique perspective and advantages that rural Manitoba has to offer to our province. I would like to now welcome Margot to provide some context and insight on the value of this new market intelligence tool for rural Manitoba.
Good morning, everyone. I am so excited to see so many people on the call here from every corner of rural Manitoba and beyond. Would like to do a special welcome to the people that were part and parcel of helping us develop and design and create this website for everybody. So thanks to our Intratech and to our web provider and to 6P for being here as well and being able to support this process. RMED is now about 26 months old, and this is one of the things that I felt at the very, very beginning, as did the board and the province, was one of the most critical items for RMED to be able to put in place, and that is to be able to ensure that communities have access to really good economic data in a format that's easy to understand and in a manner that they can then use to be able to promote communities. It's important not only to be able to have the unique fiber and fabric and flavor of every community represented in the materials that they put forward. It's equally important to make sure that we have credible, standardized data that you can tap into so that when we are putting the Manitoba message forward, the information is comparable and it is presented in a format that communities can rely on. And so we're excited to be able to have the Localintel data as being the foundation of that, which is now used right from Invest Canada down to the municipal level in Manitoba. So that's an exciting first. As part of the Manitoba Economic Development Strategy, the strategy for growth, one of the things that we are working on considerably is how to be able to continue to provide those data services. So RMED, along with our other economic development partners, Economic Development Winnipeg, Community Economic Development Fund of the North Forge, and World Trade Center, meet regularly with the province of Manitoba to be able to talk about data and information and sharing and how to make sure that we are able to promote Manitoba in the best light possible and make sure that that reflects not just our large communities, but our smaller communities as well. That said, We do recognize that there are some significant limitations in data and data integrity as you get into smaller and smaller communities. And we also recognize that unfortunately, First Nation and Métis communities are particularly challenged when it comes to effective data and validated data that can be used for these purposes. So as you go through this, you will note that there are gaps, and those gaps are not because of intent or interest. Those gaps exist simply because the data is not available in the format that we need in order to be able to have it included within this model and within this site. So please, if as you're working through this and you're working with your communities, you're working on projects, if you're finding that there is information that's missing that you'd like to have it, there is a link on the site to be able to reach out and ask for information and support so that we're able to provide the best available data for that. I think we all as economic developers would like to have more information than necessarily exists. And we're certainly a voice at that provincial committee and elsewhere to be able to try and expand and fill in some of those gaps. But that said, this is a first. 138 communities consistently represented across the site with the ability to expand and develop and enhance as we move forward. So without any further ado, I'll pass it back to Charlene and we'll be able to get into more detail about the site itself.
Great. Thank you, Margot. I'm going to do a handoff now to Michael, who's going to take us into the next step of information.
Right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all again for joining us today. At RMED, one of our objectives is to provide accurate, current, and comprehensive economic data for rural municipalities. And so we firmly believe that local data is a powerful asset that empowers communities to, invest, attract investment, and also drives informed decision making. Community profiles alongside accurate economic data also play a crucial role in this process. And so we've partnered with Localintel to ensure that our communities have access to these valuable tools. Localintel is a renowned organization and they have expertise in providing accurate and reliable data. This partnership strengthens our commitment to supporting economic development and community development in rural Manitoba. And I'm delighted today to introduce Lee Anderson, who is the Vice President of Customer Service at Localintel. Lee will provide us with a high-level overview of these tools and how they can benefit our rural communities. Thank you once again for being here, and I look forward to the fruitful discussions ahead. Without further ado, I will invite Lee to present. Thanks.
Thanks, Michael. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, and appreciate the warm introduction. Thanks again to the RMED team. And yeah, I'll be looking after the local intel side of things for this exciting pre-launch launch, I guess, with the formal launch coming soon. So my name, as you know, is Lee Anderson. My title, Vice President of Customer Success. I look after all of our clients across North America. Very excited to be here. And, part of this partnership that began, gosh, I want to say back at the start of the year. So everyone, the RMED team, the Intratech team, everyone has put in a lot of work to create this digital asset. And I hope that you're all big fans of it. I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview about who Localintel is. And then I'm going to talk about each of the 2 pages, just in the scope of the Localintel tools. The Why Manitoba page, providing an overview and a very succinct and compelling story about why Manitoba is the place for investment, for workforce, for resident attraction. And then I'm going to talk about the communities page, where each of those 137 communities are basically displayed, and all of the information particular to each community is available, as well as a link to each of your community websites. And then we'll stop at the end for some questions and follow up. So the partnership itself was built, as we've been introduced to promote and Market Manitoba, with a strong focus on the rural communities. So from that provincial level, talking about Manitoba, funneling straight down into the individual communities is the layout of the website, and an Intratech team has done a fantastic job of making it extremely beautiful and extremely aesthetic, very pleasing to the eye. A little bit about Localintel. So we were founded, gosh, I want to say about 8 years ago here where I am in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. We've grown significantly since then. We provide now what are called location advantages marketing tools. Very simply put, these are tools that can be plugged into any website. They're very dynamic, very engaging, very compelling, so that when users arrive at the website, they're curious, they want to learn, they're playing with the tools, and they're getting more information about your communities, whether that's at the provincial level or at the community level. Important to note, the tools utilize data from a variety of reputable public sources. So Localintel is not making it up. We're not surveying the data. Everything is cited back to those primary source providers, particularly Statistics Canada. And I'll make mention of that throughout. Obviously, with the brand new census data, we have a wealth of information that's as current as possible. And yes, Margot mentioned, we do work with hundreds of municipalities across both Canada and the US, ranging from small villages to towns, to local government districts, to big cities, to regions, to states. We also work with the provinces currently of British Columbia, as well as Alberta, and yes, now Manitoba. Lastly, Invest Canada, we were fortunate to partner with the federal level organization for economic development, and that website launched just a few months ago. So in terms of tying in all of the information, we have the federal level, the provincial level, down to economic development, Winnipeg, and then all of your communities as well. So it's a very nice tie-in. Like I said, 2 pages that we'll focus on today, the Why Manitoba page and then the community page. And I'm just going to jump into them and do a live demo here. I'm hoping that everything syncs up properly. But as an overview, the Why Manitoba page is really intended to, like I said earlier, tell a very nice story, right? Very succinct, very compelling, lots of visualizations, get in there and play with the data. Everything is updated, populated by Localintel. So that's all that new census data that I was referring to. As new data comes out, it flows right through into the tools. So there shouldn't be any issues there. Each of these different pages, whether that's the Why page or your community page, also provides links right through to your community websites so that any questions or requests for additional information can come directly to you and your teams. And then lastly, a nice structured and consistent format. So that's the Why Manitoba page. The community profile page, similar in terms of the information provided, just a different layout. So let's jump into it. And we'll just go into a live demo here. Hopefully this works. Can everyone see the Why Manitoba page on my screen? Yes, got a thumbs up from Emilio. Okay, we'll go through this quickly. So various different topics here. Again, this is the story portion. So we're marketing Manitoba. So logistics by design, ideal demographics, vast resources, marketplace vibrancy, skilled workers, industry insights, fast-growing industries, largest industries or diversity of industry, and talent pipeline. So each of these different topics have one of the Localintel tools to support them. And you can quickly tell right off the bat that it's something that people want to engage with. Let's start with logistics and accessibility advantages. From a very high level, this is supporting Manitoba's strategic location and global connectivity. For someone that's unfamiliar with the situation of the province, this will give them a good idea where you're located in central Canada, where you're located relative to different means of infrastructure. And yeah, very dynamic. You can see here, the default is at the Winnipeg Richardson International Airport. So you can quickly, as a user, understand where those connections are to. We don't leave out the regional airports, even the small ones that have one destination, even a short hop. We've been able to display those as well. And then drive times. So these purple overlays are indicative of an 8, 4, and 2-hour drive time from any one of the airports so that people can figure out how long it takes them to get by truck to any one of those different terminals. Major road network, very similar, highlights all of the all of the urban settlement areas. So this is not in any way all inclusive of all of the settled areas, but some of the larger areas within the province. And then again, drive times for each. That ties to the Seaport network. So although like Alberta, we don't necessarily have great access to tidewater, there is the ability to be able to ship goods straight out to the Thunder Bay port. The rail and freight network, obviously much more integral to your economy. We have here the CN and CP intermodal facilities based around Winnipeg, and then all of the tier 1 rail lines that the user can hover over and understand which different provider they can work with. So this goes right around North America, but centered obviously in your province. Lastly, broadband coverage throughout the entire province. So again, all of this information is intended to tie together to tell a story. I will say that every map, every chart, every different component of these tools does have a sourcing citation. So this little 3-dot configuration, as we move into the next section, will immediately give the user or yourselves the ability to be able to go back and understand the source data provider, the publication date, the reference period, and then an option to open the text, if it is text, into an HTML screen reader for the visually impaired. Users can also save images from any one of the charts into, I forget what type of file it is, but yeah, I can open one up, a PNG file. So lots of different options there. This community profile is very robust. It's branded obviously with the RMED colors and a whole bunch of different data sets, 6 dashboards ranging from the economy to the residents, household, dwelling, workforce, livability, 2 maps, and 22 interactive different charts. Now, important to note, as Margot mentioned earlier, that data is firmly available for almost every community. Some of these metrics, like the labor force participation, the unemployment rate, and total employment, are released on an annual basis. Those metrics are only available at CMA level and above. So CMAs, economic regions, and the province. I'll mention that now because we'll come to that when we talk about the municipal community profiles in a second. At any rate, as the user clicks through all of this different information, they get metrics, socioeconomic metrics on the economy, the population, interactive maps that show by location and concentration where people reside by individual age. The user can, again, look at it in terms of sheer numbers, right? Most people live down in the southern part of the province if we open this wide up, or you can look at it in terms of percentage, right? So where do people live by percentage of population? Similar with the household chart, whereby we're able to provide data on household income, household size, number of households, so on and so forth, and then another interactive map for the user to be able to engage with. These interactive maps are all visualizing Statistics Canada data from the brand new census, and each of these polygons contains its own information. So if you click on any one of the polygons, you'll see total as versus target, depending on what the user is looking at here. In these scroll bars, you'll see the map change accordingly. And then the aggregate up top is the total of all of these different polygons within the screenshot. So if I continue to zoom in, it gets smaller. If I zoom out, it gets bigger, allowing a little bit of a regional analysis. The last 3 tabs here, dwelling. So home ownership, workforce, where do people reside in terms of how they work? So education levels, highest levels, top occupations, residence, industry of employment throughout the province, and a little bit of a livability summary. Picking up speed here, don't want to take too long. We also have what's called the Community Explorer. So here's all of your communities on one map. This allows the user to be able to come in and be able to engage with individual communities. So you can see if you hover over any one of these different kind of red dots, you get the appropriate boundary for any one of the different municipalities. Down the left-hand side, we have logos where applicable. Michael has been collecting these from each of your communities. We use placeholders where logos are not available, so you can continue to correspond with your RMED representatives to get those logos in. We'll ensure to upload them to the tool. As a user, you can also sort by population, type of community, name of community, or filter based on the municipal hierarchy here. So if you wanted to look at just cities, municipalities, towns, villages, or search for the name. So lots of different ways to do this. Essentially, once you're able to identify the community that you'd like to learn more about, the user can click View Profile, and it will take them across to their community page. And we'll talk about this in a second. So this is where it gets a little more specific. But in the effort of finishing off why Manitoba, I'm going to continue down this page here. Give me a sec just to get back there. Into marketplace vibrancy. So again, continuing with the story. This is the whole province, right? And we're looking at it from 3 different perspectives. Local consumers is a socioeconomic analysis, local dwellings, a little bit of a development footprint, and then local businesses from an economic level. This map functions the exact same as the last census map that we looked at. All of this data is again sourced from the latest census release, and each of these polygons has its own information. The heat map is indicative of where people live in this instance by individual income. So if we're looking for more affluent versus less affluent, the map will change accordingly. We're looking at percentage currently to provide some parity to the visualization, but that can change to sheer number. Typically, Winnipeg will outpace most of the other areas in terms of number, just because of its larger population, which is why population or percentage, is a good option there. So individual income, individual age, household income, household type, all of these different metrics, giving the user an understanding of where their possible consumer base could reside. Local dwellings, I mentioned a geographical footprint of development. So we can understand where the newer developments are taking place, right? Slide that over, where some of the more historical developments reside. Where are the single family homes, multifamily homes, rows, semi-detached? Where are the owners? Where are the renters? Where are the big houses? Where are the little houses? All of this information, again, resides on the heat map with the legend in the bottom, location and concentration, either by percentage or by number. Lastly, a sectoral analysis. So 2-digit NAICS codes, for those of you familiar with the NAICS classification system, whereby we can understand where different industries or sectors are concentrated throughout the province. Let's continue on to our skilled workers section. We saw this same dashboard in the community profile for the province, reiterating highest level of education, occupation for the residents, as well as industry of employment. More importantly, the mapping component that visualizes where all of this occurs by number again, or by percentage in terms of people's highest level of education, occupation type. So this could be none, all, or any one of those different occupations, as well as industry. So you can start to see how not only is this informative, it's kind of fun too. So hopefully, and what we've seen is that this will keep people on the website for a longer time, allowing them to learn. Last couple here, discovering industry insights, a very specific analysis whereby the user can come in and search for whatever type of industry they like, gas stations or aerospace manufacturing. We have over 800, closer to 1,000 probably, different 6-digit NAICS codes. The user gets a high-level trend analysis of all of the different metrics associated with that industry: employment, number of establishments, LQ versus the nation, GDP and average weekly earnings, some expense and earnings benchmarks, more importantly, a location analysis so that we can begin to understand where, again, by location and concentration, these different businesses reside. So we're using the same census fabric here at the level. And you can see if I click on any one of these polygons, it'll tell me how many gas stations are in that area. So a nice way to get a high level understanding of different business locations. Last two, fast growing industries. As it sounds, this presents in a nice little bubble chart which industries within the province are growing quickly. And that's over a period from 2016 to 2022 by total employment growth. So this list is the simple way of looking at it, but it's not very fun. This chart is a lot more fun. And it also gives you an idea of the different sectors. So all the purple dots are manufacturing. All of the yellow dots are educational services, which you can see is outpacing a lot of the other industries in terms of growth. The chart is interactive, so it can be manipulated to show different angles. And the user can also look at traded versus local industries. So traded, obviously anything that extends beyond your border. Local, retained within, typically services. Diversity of industry is the largest industries, similar functionality to the previous chart, different presentation. So we're using a bit of a block chart here. The same list exists. This is just total employment as of 2022. These are the industries that fuel your economy, right? Again, they can be broken down to the user likes traded versus local industries, but a really good way to get a firm understanding of those industries that are adding fuel to the economy going forward. Lastly, talent pipeline. Where are your post-secondary institutions primarily focused around the large urbanized area of the Winnipeg CMA? Here we have a list of a bunch of different disciplines, and then we have the bubbles that are representative of each of the schools. User can click on any one of them and get the total enrollment for 2020. This is the most current data that's been released by Statistics Canada and their post-secondary information systems, published in 2022, just updated. If the user is looking just at a specific discipline, they can choose that discipline, and then the schools will adjust according to that discipline and just show the enrollment for not only the total, but for that specific discipline. So that's the Why Manitoba page. I'm going to just quickly click over to your community page, but as an overview, I think that the team at Intratech and the team at RMed have done a wonderful job of presenting this in a very succinct, very compelling, very engaging way. You know, I do it with an open mind, and I'm very excited to click through this and learn more. Lastly, from me, the communities page. So this is where all of your communities are represented. Similar to the Explorer tool that we saw on the Why Manitoba page, many different ways to be able to segment what you're looking for, whether you're looking for just villages, rural municipalities, whatever cities, you can search by the name. Any way that you want to get to what you're looking for, you click on a community and you're going to get more information. Now, I will say again, there are placeholders here for some of the images, as there was with the logos, as there are inside of each of the communities when you choose to explore more. So the team at RMed will be working with you to collect images, logos, and update these accordingly. Whenever a community is selected, we come into the page that has the community profile that we saw at the provincial level. This is very specific to the municipality, right? So right now we're looking at West St. Paul, rural municipality. Hovering over any one of these charts will give you that additional information. Again, clicking on the 3-dot configuration gives you the actual sourcing citation. And as I mentioned earlier, if data is not available for the smaller communities on an annual basis, we defer to the CMA, which is on screen, or the economic region. It's only in these 3 instances: labor force participation, unemployment rate, and total employment. All of the other metrics come directly from your census profiles, and they'll all be specific to your community. So very similar structure. There's the economic overview, the workforce overview that we spoke about previously, the residence overview, including population, and that same dynamic map, households, dwellings, and livability. So comparing some of those owner costs, or owner versus renter costs for the different municipalities. Most importantly, at the bottom here, as long as you've provided your information to RMed, the user has the ability to click right through and email your appointed representative directly, call them directly, or click through to your community website and get more information specifically about you. Lastly, as a fail-safe, there's also the ability to be able to provide contact info for RMed, and they will coordinate with your communities accordingly. So that's an overview of the Localintel tools. I'm just going to go back here for a second and close it up by saying that it's fantastic. What RMed has put together here is definitely cutting edge. It will go a long way towards promoting your communities. I believe there will be post-launch collateral provided in terms of a user guide and an overview video that you can go through to gain more knowledge about the tools themselves. Any questions or comments, we're asking at this time that you put them through your RMed team. The RMed team will collate and, collaborate with Localintel to get you all of your responses. So with that, thank you for your time today. I don't know, organizers, if you want to have questions now or later, but I'll leave that up to you. Appreciate it. Thanks for letting me share.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Lee. Thanks for your expertise and helping us to navigate through the resources. I'd just like to pull Michael back into the conversation. Michael has been just really instrumental as far as RMed's team in development to get where we're at today.
Right. Yeah. So I would like to also go over where you can find this exciting information on our website. And so when you go to our website, and I've posted the link in the chat. Let me share my screen so that's okay. Yeah, can you please see my screen? Yeah, okay, right. So when you go to the link that I posted on the chat, you'll come to this page. And so this is the Refresh RMED page with the help from Intertech and Emilio and his team. We are very grateful. So this new website has two tabs here for businesses and also one for economic development officers, where you find resources tailored to communities and tailored to CAOs, EDOs. And then for the purpose of today's meeting, we are very interested in the business side. So I'll click on the business, and then that takes you to this page. When you come down, there are tabs on Explore Resources where we have our libraries and then reports, economic reports will also be here. And then for our data services, when you click here, it's going to take you to what to the data services page. And so you click on the community data, where it takes you to the advanced rural Manitoba page. And so this is where all the tools are. And it comes to the homepage where we see basic statistics on the GDP of rural Manitoba. And then the next tab shows why rural Manitoba, and I'm grateful for Lee for going through the details. And so this, as he said, have information at the provincial level, but for the community level, you come to this next tab, which is our communities, where you will find all the data here. About 137 municipalities in Manitoba has their profiles in here. And as he said, some communities are yet to provide their logos and images. And so kindly go through and check. If you haven't submitted your images yet, please reach out to our maid, and then let's us have your information so we are able to upload and update your profiles. Yeah, so you can also set by cities, where it sorts, only by the cities that we have here in rural Manitoba, also by municipalities or even by towns. And you can also sort by names, actually. So this is very interactive. So for example, if we click on Carman, town of Carman, for example, you are able to see that they have a very short description of their town, and then 3 images on their profiles. And they also have data and statistics on the economy, workforce, and also information on the residents, population, median income, household, and so forth. We believe that these are foundational data, and so we will be able to, in the future, add more, indicators to this page. Okay. So this is where you'll find all your community profiles, and it's on the rural advanced rural Manitoba website. Okay. Yeah, so please go through and then check if your community information is there. At times, I think there are some communities who send their images, but we haven't uploaded them yet because the format in which they submitted it's not compatible. So I'll reach out to these communities and then ask them to send new profiles, and new pictures and logos. Thank you very much, and please, if you have any questions, you can ask. Let me stop sharing the screen.
Thanks so much, Michael. And thanks for your comments in the chat, Wayne. We're glad so excited to be a partner with Rural Development Institute and supporting the work of students and academics relating to rural research for Manitoba. Mark, I bring you back into the conversation.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Charlene. Every time I sit down and I go through all of this information with Localintel and others, I find another little tidbit of things that I know is there, but I'd forgotten it was there, or a slightly different way of looking at the data. So it's going to take everybody a little bit of time to be able to become familiar with it. And that's where those other resources that we'll make sure are available are helpful for you. Really important to get feedback. Thanks for looking at this, Leslie. Great question about it being bilingual. We have started with conversations around it being bilingual, and there's some work happening on that front. We do have a fantastic relationship with CEDEM, and Madeleine is on the phone here right now. And Madeleine and CEDEM and ARMED have partnered and are working through service delivery models specifically for bilingual municipalities. So you will note that any municipality that is a bilingual municipality, there's a comment at the top indicating that they're a member of ANBM. And there is in the Contact Us a note indicating that if you're looking for bilingual services, to please contact CEDEM, and CEDEM is going to be the front triage point for bilingual services, and will either facilitate with that or will do a handoff to us and make sure that we're able to provide those bilingual services. So ultimately, it would be fantastic that this is a fully bilingual site. But that is still work in progress and conversations are ongoing. So stay tuned on that front. This is just the beginning. We think that there's going to be lots and lots of different things that are available and ways in which we can expand this. Some of it for everybody. We're looking at ways in which we can work with individual communities to be able to make it uniquely theirs, and how we can make it part of a differentiator. We are also looking at how this can be used to support some of our international efforts. So the pilot version of this was released in March, and we worked with the municipality in the city of Portage la Prairie. We worked with the Louis Riel investment park, and we worked with Dauphin, and we did a version of this that we used when we went to MIPIM, which was one of the largest real estate investment shows in the world, and it was located in France. And so this is going to be a core piece of how we're able to represent rural municipalities, not just in the work that happens within the province, but also when we have the opportunity to represent rural communities around the globe. And so we're very excited to be able to work with you and get the feedback on all of this. So work in progress. Your feedback is important, and we will continue to be able to evolve it with everybody on that front. I notice there's a couple of other comments. Michelle, is there data available specifically to focus on quality of life, education, healthcare, recreation? Lee, is that, and there's another question about tourism. Lee, do you want to speak to the availability of that data currently?
Yeah, sure. We do have that type of product available in the Localintel catalog. It's called the Quality of Life Advantages tool. And without going into a full-scale demonstration at this time, it does highlight all the points of interest as well as amenities, educational stuff, pretty much everything you can think of on a nice interactive map. We've never done one at the provincial level because there is so much data to incorporate, but it's definitely something that we can discuss with ARMED, Margot and her team, if they're interested in pulling that into what they explained could be the phase 2 or phase 3 build out of these different tools on the site. Otherwise, for any community that is interested in learning about how to present that for themselves or for their region, you can contact Localintel directly. You can get my email from ARMED or just go to ecdev.org, and we can definitely build out that type of tool for any other area. So it's a a paid for subscription, obviously. But yes, it does exist is the answer.
Mhm.
And
Clayton.
that's great. That's a great part of getting feedback. I would encourage people certainly not to work with Localintel directly, but before you go down and work with Localintel directly, let's get have some conversations and get some feedback on this tool, because I think there's advantages to being able to build out these services for all of us, and being able to have that integrated perspective. So we definitely want to be able to provide those kinds of supports where we can and make sure that it's available for everyone in a way that builds Manitoba provincially, regionally, and locally.
Thanks, Margot. I'm just going to interject. We had a couple of questions pop up, which may not be appearing in everyone's chat function, but Clayton has just raised the question, wondering how the borders of the polygons were set. So this is a technical question. And are the municipal borders outlined if someone drills down to the local level?
I can answer that one as well. It depends on the map is the question. And I think that whomever asked that, once you start playing it with it, it will become pretty intuitive. The actual polygons themselves that we set can be at the DA level, so dissemination area, or at the CT level, which is the census tract. Either way, the data overlays the municipal boundaries. So within the provincial level tools, you will not see the boundary for every single municipality on the maps. However, you will see them on that Community Explorer with all the little red dots, obviously, because we have to showcase each of those different municipal boundaries. The reason being that we don't show boundaries on those census maps is that the map gets very heavily muddled, but you can still understand how your community fits into it. On the contrary, with the community profiles, right, so specific to each one of the municipalities, your boundaries are very much bolded and stated. So everything, including the data for the charts, is contained within your municipal boundary. Hopefully that makes sense.
So a secondary question to this is, will there be an immigration or settlement service type of integration into the tool in the future? So for example, if someone was looking to relocate to one of the communities, could we have the capacity for a direct linkage to connect someone to a service? For example, regional immigration offices. And we know we have great resources at the local level in many of our rural Manitoba communities. So is that functionality there in the future for us to connect with?
That's not a Localintel question. I would leave that to ARMED. That's dealing with other outside organizations. Thanks.
So I think one of the things that we need to keep in mind with all of this is, going back to my original comments, ARMED is 26 months old, and we have got a very long list of things that we want to be able to do and services that we want to be able to provide. And it's going to take us some time to roll all of those out. We are not going to, nor do we want to ever come in and displace what has happening within community. What's happening in community is by far and away the best resource for the people within. We're going to be looking first and foremost at being able to create tools that can be used broadly across the entire province. So in the coming weeks, you're going to see the regional economic development profiles that have historically been on the Manitoba site transition to the ARMED site. Those are currently in peer review. You're going to see other kinds of economic data site or economic data reports, immigration reports, labor reports, workforce reports be developed over time. You're going to see 5 toolkits roll out over the course of the next few weeks. They're just in final review and typesetting and editing and those various sorts of stages. We would see us working with individual communities to be able to figure out how best to profile what's in their communities in a coordinated manner. But but that still falls back to individual communities to be able to identify what that is and how we're going to be able to make things keep the flavor of what's there and make sure that everybody's aware of their resources. So it's a work in progress, and these sorts of comments are always going to be taken into consideration as we figure out what phase 2, 3, and 4 look like.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks for that clarification, Margot. And another question, which may be again for Michael or Lee. Are the data sections exportable or shareable via link?
Oh, Lee, you're on mute.
I thought I clicked it. So yeah, the data sections can be easily screenshot. That's one option. Each of the individual charts can be printed to PNG, and you can also provide direct links to any of the pages. So there is no raw data export. If you're looking for a CSV export, it becomes very muddy and unmanageable for us to do that. But that is the purpose of the sourcing citations, with enough detail to actually take users back to the primary the primary tables within Stats Canada. So to reiterate, number one, screenshot of any one of the little modules that you're looking at. Number two, you can print the PNG of any one of the charts. Number three, send a link. And number four, trace back to the primary source data.
Okay, great. Thank you. We do have a question relating to gender and minority group information. So any additional comments relating to that?
From the Localintel perspective, we don't have tools currently that report on diversity, whether that is minority groups or gender. We are looking into it, as a matter of fact. It's a matter of ensuring that it's similar to the First Nations, actually, whereby we need to be able to ensure that we have reliable data kind of across the country before we can pull that into our tool set. So from the Localintel perspective, the answer is no, we don't have the data for it currently, but something maybe in the future.
Yeah. Thanks for illustrating that, Lee. Just want to draw your attention to Madeleine's comments about the resources that SEDEM can provide to bilingual municipalities of Manitoba, and just encourage you to reach out to them if you need specific supports regarding that. Monique, of course, represents Sunrise Corner, which involves an economic development partnership of the RMs of Piney and Stewartburn. So we know that the current system profiles each of the RMs, but is there also profile capacity for that Sunrise Corner region? So, Michael, did you want to touch on that?
I think Margot responded to that. Yeah, so this is just the foundational data. We are looking at different phases where we'll be able to do regional analysis. And so we could also do specific analysis based on transportation corridors, economic regions, and stuff like that. So yeah, it's something under consideration, and we will see what works and what fits.
Thank you. And just so important to note that this is a starting point. So this is a great starting point, and we will continue to see evolution within the system. If there's no other questions at this time, oh, here's a question. Has consultation been done with the Winnipeg Metro region and the data they collected for Plan 2050? Margot, did you want to take that one?
I can speak to that. We have not worked with any organization that could provide data outside of what the Localintel core service is. We did work with Localintel to develop that provincial navigator tool. I believe we're the first to go out with that, are we not, Lee? So that is brand new. We recognize that there are dozens and dozens of potential data sources and partners that can go into this going forward. The Winnipeg metro region is certainly one. We did have conversations at length with Economic Development Winnipeg. They too use the Localintel services, which was part of what brought us to that, because we do want that consistency across the province. So that if we have somebody from the outside looking in and saying, hey, I'm interested in communities A, B, and C, we want to make sure that they're comparing apples to apples and that everybody is coming forward into that discussion with a level playing field in terms of data and quality and those sorts of things. As we move forward, we anticipate that there are lots of opportunities to partner with others, whether it's looking at the health authorities or looking at other sort of research facilities. I know we've had lots of conversations with RDI, looking at primary research, looking at how we can aggregate things into various regions. And at this point in time, we need to let the dust settle on this one and let everybody become really comfortable and confident in what's there and be able to get some of that feedback so we can develop phases and stages to be able to go out and do that. That not only means figuring out what the features and form and content is, but it also means figuring out what the funding model is to be able to support all of those enhancements as well. So as Shar said, this is the beginnings of, I think, what's going to be a very exciting road over a number of years as we grow and expand that. And we also want to make sure that as we're growing and expanding that, we're staying aligned with and tapping in to that data partnership that I mentioned at the beginning that is across all of the economic development agencies in the province, so that we're able to be efficient in the use of our resources and make sure that we're able to do as much as possible without duplicating efforts and creating confusion. So this is the beginning of a very exciting journey, and there's lots of twists and turns along the way. And we're looking for your input so that we can help prioritize those enhancements.
Thanks, Margot. Okay, so like any good bunch of economic development folks, we're always looking at opportunities for feedback. So I think Deanna has a poll that she's going to put up on the screen. And if you would kindly provide a response to that. So the question is, what are your impressions of the site based on a single choice of very good, good, or needs more work? So we'll give everyone a minute to submit their response. And Deanna, you can indicate when it looks like our group of 41 people have participated. Okay. So I think we have one final question that we may pop onto the screen for some secondary feedback. Oh, here's our the responses look good. So 81% of our group today had impressions of the site, 19% indicating good impressions, which is of course positive feedback. And yeah. So thank you for that. Okay, question 2, will you use this tool to support rural investment and expansion readiness? So a single response here, yes, no, or maybe. Okay, well, thanks. Thanks everyone for your feedback. Thanks for this response. So 82% of folks today are indicating yes, that they will use this tool, which is certainly very, very valuable perspective, and 18% saying maybe, which is also positive. you so much for the compliments expressed in the chat. And once again, please reach out to us one-on-one as we move forward into the coming months. We're really excited to be able to provide this opportunity to connect with you all and look forward to working together on projects to make rural Manitoba grow and continue to be prosperous and vibrant. So thanks again, everyone. Have a great day.